Hello, friends. Welcome to day 19 of our podcast here on MindShape EXCELerate. We are accelerating forward in the things of God. One of our taglines here at EXCELerate is higher, forward, faster. I hope that you experience those things in your life, those dynamics, those movements. As we study the Word of God together, it's lifting you higher, it's moving you forward, and you're experiencing acceleration in your growth. So we're exploring these affirmational truths. We're already on day 19 here. And today's truth is, God is supplying all my needs according to his riches in glory. It's important that we include all of that in the statement that God is the one. He's supplying all of my needs according to his riches in glory. You know, when I was growing up as a young man, I had a lot of responsibilities, and I had a lot of things just pressing in on me, a lot of demands. One of the things that I needed, of course, we all need it. You know, I needed my provision. I needed money. I had bills. I had hospital bills, rent, food, children's clothes, all kind of things. And I really drove myself into the ground trying to meet all those needs. And of course, we need to put forth an effort to meet whatever obligations that we do have. But it wasn't until some years later that I came to a place of faith in God, and I received Christ into my life. And then I came across the understanding, reading his word, that he loves me and he cares for me so much that I can throw my cares off on him, and he will do things on my behalf just as an act of faith. As I release those needs to him in faith. I tell you, friends, 30-something years later, I can tell you that God knows what we need, and if you'll trust him and cast your cares on him and live according to his prescribed way there found in his word, you will find him not only meeting your needs, but he will do exceeding abundantly above all that you can ask or think. God is a creator. He is the creator, and he's self-sustaining. He's the self-sustaining source of all life, and we're in him, and he knows. You know, there's things that God has called you to do that you might be saying, how in the world am I going to be able to do that? How can I possibly accomplish that? Friends, God calls us into things that we know we cannot do in our own ingenuity and in our own genius and our own intelligence. He calls us into things that are beyond that so that we will trust him and walk in faith. So be encouraged in that today. Genesis 22, Abraham called the place when he was in the mount there, and God told him to go sacrifice Isaac. He was resolute in his faith because one of his statements was that God will provide. God will provide the sacrifice. He was settled in his heart. The Bible says that he called that place Jehovah Jireh, the place, and it's found there in verse 8, that God will provide. And I would encourage you to come to that place in your life. Come to that place in your heart. The Bible is full of examples of situations where God sustained people and provided means, many times through supernatural means, supernatural ways, that provision was there. He fed Elijah with ravens, brought food to Elijah because he was in the place where God told him to go, and they sustained him there. We see Israel in the wilderness for 40 years, going round and round and around the mountain until they reached the land of promise. God provided them with manna. He provided them with food. He provided them with water out of a rock, streams in the desert. Psalm 37:25 says, I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor God's seed begging for bread. I've never seen the righteous forsaken. And you know what? In all the years I've done my best to live righteously before God, I've never been forsaken. I can speak from my own experience. And not only that, I can tell you that God has provided over and above anything I can ask or think. I've been in the ministry for over 30 years. The Lord has sent me all around the world, and He's used people to help me. He's done things. He's given me supernatural favor in times where I'm wondering, what in the world, how did that happen? I remember one time, my first trip to Africa, I got on the plane for the 9-hour flight over from Europe to Africa. That's a pretty long flight. Actually, it's 3 flights to where we were going. And they gave me a first class seat. And I'm saying to myself, how did this happen? I didn't pay for a first class seat. I'm back here in coach somewhere. And it really wasn't even a need, but it was just some kind of favor that God did for me. And I really believe that it initiated some things for me to trust Him at a higher level. Friends, God is more than enough in your life, okay? Don't doubt. Don't doubt Him. Trust Him. He knows what you need. Matthew 19:26 says, all things are possible with God. All things. You've been called to an impossible life. We've been called to do something and to live in such a way in trusting God that He comes, He fulfills those things, and He does it out of His riches and glory. He doesn't do it by the American economy. He doesn't do it by what's in your bank account. He does it out of the riches, His riches and glory. And friends, His riches and glory do not run out. It does not experience a recession. It does not experience a downturn in markets, okay? His riches and glory are unlimited, and therefore the righteous. Now, I'm going to end on Ephesians 3:20 that exhorts us and says, God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we could ask or think, according to the power that works in us. There is no need that you have that God cannot meet, that God does not have more than enough to make a way for you, and more than likely it's going to be above and beyond what you think. Set your faith today. Set your faith to believe today, and start trusting Him on a low level, and then build a track of faith with Him, and you will begin to see the evidences of His intervention in your life as you follow Him. Trust in the Lord with all that you have. He's more than enough. Have a blessed week this week. God is with you. I love you, and I'll look forward to being in with you tomorrow on day 20 of the podcast. Be blessed.